Guys, Jill here, and today I want to show you this card that I found in my archives. I didn't realize, but I had a few videos that I have recorded. I'm thinking last year. Anyway, I'm using one of the mini Gorjuss Girl stamps. This one's called Puddles of Love, and I used several different layers on this one, and it involves the use of gelatos. Now I have to stash these, but you could use crayons. I have some of the Tim Holtz crayons, as well, watercolor crayons, sorry, as well as the Michaels watercolor crayons. The other thing that I used was some of my Inktense pencils. I just used those on her face. And then the paper that I use is no longer available. This is the Color Splash Resist paper from Recollections. I went through this stuff like crazy. It's really fun to work with, but of course you know there's lots of that type of paper around. And then I used the Bow Bunny craft die, and this one I'll show you. This one is the lattice frame die. Now what I'm showing you here with the papers is the ones from Michaels, they fell apart. You had to be really careful with the amount of water you use. I'm sure a lot of us still have them in our stash. I know I do because I went back and got a second pad of the paper. So just be really careful with that when you use them. And there's the lattice die that I used. And I used that with poster board, not mirror paper, but of course if you have mirror paper in your stash, use that. So let's go ahead and get into some of the background paper. I used my Ranger craft mat. I have a smaller piece way back when. It used to be a really small piece, or you could cut yours down, and I'm just using a brush. I was trying the brushes from Hobby Lobby. I didn't love them for painting, but they're great for backgrounds. A really good alternative that I would recommend would be the Ranger brushes. They're way sturdier than these. They hold a way nicer point. I'm sorry if you're hearing weird noises. I have my dog in my lap to keep him quiet, and he is snoring. And I know I've mentioned before that he snores in the videos, but this time he's actually in my lap, and I know you can hear him. Anyway, so I just rub it on. And for the rain effect with the gelatos, I just sprayed the water, and then I went ahead and didn't rub it on as much because I wanted you to see kind of that rain effect. So I rub it on with the brush, and then I used my rag a little bit to rub the rain effect down a little bit. And so again, with the gelatos, I actually used the real gelatos, and then I used the Lyra crayons. So here I am just kind of mixing the intensity of the color. Some I wanted really intense, and then some I wanted smoother. So let's clean up. Here we go. Now we're going to move on to the image. So I had cut the inside of the image with the frame of the Bow Bunny die. That die has so many good frames to it. There's 4 pieces, and it cuts that little frame. So I just colored directly with my Inktense really lightly onto this Canson XL paper. It's got light tooth to it, so color very, very lightly. And then I added some cheeks. And at this point it looks a touch dark, but then when it's done it looks way too light to me. And then I'm just going to color some of the the gelato onto my nonstick mat, and then start coloring onto the image. Now, what I'll tell you about the gelatos. I think they're great for mixed media, which I haven't gotten intently into. I have a journal that I use and I don't really show, but I use them in that type of setting. But I find that they end up on a situation like this, they end up a bit chalky and they tend to obscure the black lines, which I failed to mention. The black lines on this are my standby of the Versa Fine Onyx Black, and I love that ink pad. And I've had that ink pad since it came out. I finally got a brand new one maybe a few weeks ago, within the last month. So that is a standby ink pad. But, excuse me one moment. Excuse me. Right as my dog is like extra snoring. I think he's waking up. So they're really chalky, and I don't suggest them as a watercolor in this way that I'm using them. I was experimenting with them, seeing how I felt about them. If it's all that you have, then by all means use them this way. It came out pretty, but you might want to consider going over the lines with a pen. And like I said, they did come out pretty. I got some depth with them, as you can see. I went in with one layer. I let that dry as I moved from area to area like I do with watercolor. And here I'm getting the shadows and the light, so it's not hard to work with. And now I'm coming in with the pinks, and I'm doing the bottoms of things. I'm going to do the umbrella with the pinks. And so again, now my dog's awake, sorry about that. And so I'm going to do the bottoms of the umbrella, her little shirt that's peeking out, and they're good for basic coloring. And they're along the lines of just a lower end watercolor with the chalkiness, with more fillers in them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. It's just as you progress with, say, watercoloring, you would want to move up to something with less fillers. So now I'm going to go in with the hair. So I wanted to have a few brownish undertones, but I'm going to come in with a really dark brown. So I just put in some light brown in some areas. I'm not going to get too fussy because there's not, again, a lot of details that I'm throwing in this. It's a pretty small image on a pretty flashy card. When you throw in that gold, there's a lot of flash. So her hair is going to be pretty general. Again, when I came in with these, it was more of an experiment to see what I could do with something I already had. And by the time I got to the hair, I knew it wasn't going to be a lot of spectacular coloring, but I also knew it was going to be nice. So I knew I was going to get some color definition. And so I kind of feathered in. And so I could show that lighter reddish brown coming through. And then it's been raining here, so I'm sure you can hear the emergency vehicles. Always an accident when it starts the rain with all the slickness. Such a shame. So here we go with all the little spots in the hair. So I'm almost finished with this image itself. Now, I didn't show you putting together the main piece you saw in the beginning. that was already done. You didn't need to see me putting together lots of foam tape, because I'm going to show you a little bit of this at the end with the assembly of the card. But now I'm going to come in with a little bit of the black into the pink, just to darken up the area on the umbrella. I thought it was too bright a pink, and I wanted it a little, I don't know, different color. And so I thought adding maybe a little bit of black into it. And so now I'm going to edge this piece with gold. This is where I use my Pilot paint pen. And it's a gold pen. And I do it on the card itself. I'm sorry, I was scratching my dog. I know you could hear that, and I'm sorry I stopped that. So I just run it along the edges of all the papers, and it gives this beautiful gold edge. I put more pressure on the background piece of paper, as you can see. And now I'm going to attach the layers. And when I speed up, my Scotch ATG tape runner always looks wiggly. I think it's so funny. And there's that layer. I'm attaching it with the foam pads. So this is an older card, so most of the supplies are no longer available, if any of them. So I will go ahead and link you to whatever supplies are available below. And so there is that, and I will link you over to my blog. So as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I always love your comments, and welcome to my new subscribers. And thank you so much for stopping by, and have a great day.